So here's the opinion, you've heard it here first. Moses Itauma will wreck all them old men out of the division.
So he can pick whoever he wants to fight, you know, and he deserves to be able to pick whoever he wants to fight. And the only guy that he hasn't fought,
no, you know what? You don't want to rush him. You want to take it easy. You want to take it slow. Don't rush him. Let him enjoy. He's still 20 years old. Let him get to 22, 23 years old. And that's then you start putting him in with the top names in boxing, like the Usyks and like the Wilders or even the Joshuas and the Furies. At the moment, I think you should keep on building him. Let him keep on winning like this.
Tyson Fury has never been shy when it comes to speaking his mind about the heavyweight division, and this time he turned his attention to young rising contender Moses Itauma after the teenager called out Daniel Dubois. Fury, who knows both the promise and pitfalls of the sport better than most, gave advice.
You can knock him out. Because I wouldn't say that because it's in England and you know it's on his own show, so just do the best you can, that's it. Best you can.
That carried two clear messages. On the one hand, he warned about the dangers of fighting Dubois, particularly on home ground, where the Londoner remains a powerful draw. But on the other, Fury's words also revealed something deeper, that Dubois himself may be under as much pressure as the fearless.
I think he's a good kid. I've said in the past that I think he can be a champion, and I do think, just like I said with Jared Anderson, I think Jared and Moses are very, very both good fighters. However, there's a lot of temptation, there's a lot of stuff outside of boxing that makes fighters not achieve what they should have done. And it's the same old story, if I woulda, shoulda, coulda. If I didn't get involved with these people, if I didn't go out and drink, if I didn't get involved with this, that and the other, then I would have, if I woulda, shoulda, coulda. That's why I can sit here today and say I always wanted to not be a woulda, shoulda, coulda guy. I am the guy who did everything he could. And they're only starting off a career, so if they can stay on the right path and away from all the idiots, away from the women, away from the drunken nights, away from all the cranks, then I believe both of them can go on and win world titles.
19-year-old challenger who dared to call him out by highlighting Moses as a serious talent and grouping him alongside other top young names. Fury quietly shifted the narrative. What he really suggested is that the heavyweight landscape is changing and that insiders already see Moses as part of the new.
How badly he gets beat down, because what you saw last night with Dubois was a beat down. You know, everybody's talking about Moses Itauma, and rightly so, because he's beaten everything that's been put in front of him. You know, and he's starting to get a big reputation now. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see where that one's concerned, I think.
Wave. For Dubois, that's a problem. He was the one called out first, which flips the pressure onto him. Now he has to show not just that he can hold his ground, but that he can handle a bold teenager coming with momentum and fearlessness. Fury's praise for Moses becomes indirectly another burden on Dubois' shoulders. It signals that people inside the sport are already lining up the youngster as the future.
Tyson was 20 years and 5 months when he wins the heavyweight championship of the world. Don't take anything away from Moses Itauma. He could have done that to Dillian in the pomp of his career. You know, there's nobody in the world right now apart from Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, who he couldn't pick hold.
Ready to test and possibly topple the current crop of contenders. That theme of contrast, one fighter rising while the other battles questions, was picked up sharply by Duke McKenzie. The former champion didn't mince his words when comparing their trajectories. Dubois, McKenzie reminded fans, is coming off a damaging performance.
It's literally styles makes fights, doesn't it? Yeah. And I think Dubois, his style is one of my trickiest. So yeah, it gels well.
That exposed fragility under the spotlight. Moses, by contrast, keeps stacking wins, building confidence and growing his name in a way that feels steady and inevitable. The momentum gap is widening, and in boxing, momentum is everything. It sets the tone for how fans, promoters, and opponents perceive you. That growing divide makes a potential Dubois Itauma showdown even more intriguing because the danger seems to flow from the younger man. A 19-year-old shouldn't be the one with the aura of menace, yet here we are. Enter Tony Bellew, who added historical weight to the conversation. Bellew drew comparisons between Moses and a young Mike Tyson, pointing out how rare it is for a teenager to command this kind of buzz in the heavyweight scene. He even went as far as saying there are only two names he...
What he did to Daniel, it took away everything, all his all his attributes. He took away his jab, took away his power, took away his movement, took away his confidence to the point where Danny was putting his backside on the floor thinking, wow, you know, we're only in round 5 here and I'm getting chopped up. This guy, Usyk,
wouldn't pick holes in when discussing Moses' rise, a statement that elevates the youngster into rare company. Praise like that doesn't just flatter Moses, it puts indirect pressure on Dubois. If boxing insiders are already suggesting the teenager is following in the footsteps of legends, then Dubois has to prove why he still deserves to be part of the conversation at the top of the division. But what does Moses himself think about Dubois? That's where things get interesting. When asked, the teenager gave a glimpse into how he views the man he called out. He suggested that Dubois' public image doesn't fully align with the private man, hinting at vulnerabilities that aren't always visible from the outside. It wasn't trash talk, but it was telling. Moses' words painted Dubois as someone more fragile than
ready. I think he could beat most heavyweights in the world, with the exception possibly of Usyk and maybe Dubois, possibly AJ. The top 3 or 4, he's not ready for them yet. Could he be?
Fans may realize, and when a young contender senses weakness, it becomes fuel. For fans, it added spice to the potential clash, giving the storyline more depth than just another rising star versus established contender narrative. Few analysts capture psychological weaknesses better than Johnny Nelson, and his take on Dubois cut straight to the core of the issue. Nelson pointed out that when Dubois is truly tested, his tools and confidence can vanish quickly. He described him as a fighter who has everything taken away under pressure, stripped bare when forced onto the back foot. For Moses, this is golden information. If Nelson is right, then all the teenager has to do is push Dubois beyond his comfort zone, and the fight tilts dramatically in his favor. Nelson also reminded fans that modern heavyweight boxing isn't just about power in the early rounds, it's about stamina.
Or he might knock him out, I don't know, but personally, at 20, you know, you got to get it right. And Frank, like I said, Frank knows what he's doing, and I think I'd be very surprised if they took that kind of test.
Self-belief and adaptability. Sitting on your stool by round 5 already beaten, as Nelson put it, is the picture of fragility, a picture Dubois will be desperate to erase. Balancing that sharp critique was the measured voice of Adam Smith, who brought calm perspective into the debate. Smith rates Moses extremely highly, saying he could already beat most heavyweights today, but he also emphasized patience. Development, he stressed, is just as important as raw talent, especially at heavyweight where mistakes can end careers. By putting only Usyk and Dubois in the exception category, the fighters Moses may not yet be ready to beat. Smith both elevated the teenager and shielded him from premature expectations, yet his words also made the potential Dubois clash more compelling. If Dubois is one of the exceptions, then fighting him becomes the...
We're going to go in for this next step.
Who is next? Is Moses Itauma on the horizon?
All the guys in the heavyweight division, yeah, they're all... The guy, especially the one who has the belts, and, you know, if the belts fragment or whatever, stuff like that can happen. Whatever way I can become 2-time heavyweight champion, that's where I'm going.
The natural proving ground. Win, and Moses proves he belongs already. Lose, and Dubois reclaims his place in the top tier. Smith's perspective, while balanced, ultimately added fuel to the fire because it framed the fight as inevitable. Of course, in boxing, nothing happens without the business side, and that's where Eddie Hearn's insights mattered. Hearn recognized Moses' incredible potential, but made it clear that timing is everything. At just 20 years old, even a gifted heavyweight must be handled carefully. He praised Frank Warren's strategy in guiding Moses so far, and admitted he was surprised by the idea of the teenager taking on Dubois so soon. For promoters, one big fight can make or break momentum. For Dubois, it's double-edged. He's established enough to be a measuring stick, but vulnerable enough that losing to a teenager would be career damaging. Hearn's view underlined the tension between fans.
Boxing a guy who's 24 years old, who's got all his faculties right, getting trained by one of the best trainers in the United Kingdom, and then mate, it's like you got more chance of winning the lottery than you beating that Moses Itauma. Let's be honest about it.
who want big fights now, and promoters who weigh risk and reward. It was a reminder that boxing isn't just about ability in the ring, it's about timing, patience, and strategy. Dubois, himself meanwhile, spoke with ambition. He talked about titles, belts, and the possibility of facing Moses down the line. His words sounded confident, but underneath was the unmistakable weight of pressure. Just mentioning Moses by name showed how much the teenager had already forced his way into Dubois' thinking. That doesn't usually happen with untested 19-year-old. Dubois framed his path around opportunities, but fans still remember the questions about his ability to handle adversity. Against a fearless prospect like Moses, ambition alone won't be enough. He will have to prove that he can not only win but dominate convincingly. Otherwise, his talk of becoming a two-time champion risks sounding hollow. Then came the voice of Derek Chisora, whose blunt
He's got speed, he's got power, he's tough, he's game. He ticks all the boxes so far. So let's see. Again, he's young. You know, he's not really been tested because what he's doing to these opponents. So let's see. It's early days, but a big future for him.
This is legendary. Chisora dismissed any doubts about Moses with a line that cut through all the hype. You have more chance of winning the lottery than beating Moses. It wasn't a throwaway soundbite, it was a measure of respect. Chisora has faced world champions and knows what separates hype from the real thing. For him to speak so highly of a teenager says a lot. It also sends a warning to Dubois. Insiders are starting to see him not as the favorite, but as the one with something to prove. Chisora recognized Moses' careful development under elite coaching and sharp matchmaking. It was a reminder that pedigree and preparation can outweigh age, especially in heavyweight boxing. Equally valuable were the words of Peter Fury, who struck a balance between excitement and realism. He praised Moses' speed, power, toughness, and attitude, all the traits you want in a future heavyweight star, but he also warned that we haven't yet seen him under true pressure. That perspective matters.
Block Moses Itauma, who looks absolutely extraordinary, and for me, he ticked all the boxes. I like his attitude, I like his style, southpaw, hard-hitting, moves so well. He's going to be very, very difficult to sort of deter. So it's an interesting one because, yeah, is this too soon for Moses, or is this just the right fight at the right time?
Dominating lesser opponents is one thing. Adapting against a seasoned, dangerous veteran is another. By saying it's still early days, Peter Fury protected Moses from overhype while still acknowledging his serious threat level. It created intrigue rather than deflating excitement, setting up any clash with Dubois as not just a test for the youngster, but also a revealing examination of Dubois' resilience. As the debate unfolded, Adam Smith returned to frame it all around timing. He praised Moses' attributes, attitude, southpaw style, heavy hands, smooth movement, but asked the key question, is now the right moment for Dubois versus Moses? Beating Dubois now could catapult Moses into world-level status before his 20th birthday, rewriting the rules on how fast a heavyweight can rise. For Dubois, it would be a career-saving chance to halt the teenager's momentum and reclaim lost aura. Smith called it a classic crossroads fight, youth and hunger against experience and redemption. It's not just two names on a poster, it's a shift in power waiting to happen, and that's why the stakes feel so high. On one side stands Moses Itauma, still a teenager, but already rattling the division with skill, composure, and fearlessness. On the other is Daniel Dubois, once hailed as the next big thing, but now at a crossroads where defeat could redefine his career. A win for Moses would launch him straight into the elite. A win for Dubois would silence the doubters and prove he still belongs. It's speed and southpaw angles against raw power and pride. It's youth versus experience, fearlessness versus redemption. So the question lingers, who is mentally stronger, who really wants it more when the lights go out? The clash isn't just another heavyweight fight, it's the battle of eras. What about you? Are you backing Moses Itauma's meteoric rise, or do you believe Daniel Dubois has the heart and strength left to halt the new wave?